Hello and welcome to the SustainabiliTREE podcast with me, Katie.
And me, Mike. In SustainabiliTREE, we will explore all things trees and woodlands with a specific focus on the issue of plastics within the forestry sector.
In each episode, we will be looking at a variety of topics around this theme, including woodland creation, funding streams, plastic pollution, deer, soils, ecology, and so much more.
Shall we get started, Katie?
Let's go! Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I don't know what happened to my accent then. It went all a little bit kind of, I don't know, it was very posh. I do apologise to everybody for that. I'm on full of a cold, Katie, so I don't know whether I was trying to compensate by going all, I don't know, Queen's English, I think, or King's English, as it should be.
Well, things are changing, as we've got, we'll say in our life news in a minute, so, you know, I might have to start having a more northern accent soon.
Very true. So how are you keeping? What's been happening?
Oh, madness, Mike. It's been madness. Exciting madness, though. I've got my mini co-host, Ren, with me, so you may hear some little squeaks throughout. But me, Ren, are moving to, with her dad, obviously, are all moving to Scotland. Ah!
Wow. Well, could you not get anywhere further?
I know. Well, you know, we've always sort of prided ourselves on you being the northerner, me being the southerner, you know, Essex girl and the Yorkshire dude. But yeah, I'll be more north than you. So, and I won't even attempt to offend people by trying to do a Scottish accent. So I will definitely stand out when I'm up there.
So what's the thinking behind the move? You're not doing a moonlight flit, are you? You've paid your rent and you're you're off. It's not a case of just disappearing off.
No, we are just a life adventure, and yeah, as anyone listening knows, you know, since I've had my daughter Ren back in January, and anybody that's a parent knows how much it just changes your life. And since having her, we've just wanted to focus my time on being a mum. So yeah, moving up to Scotland where I can be full-time mummy and part-time forester, in the sense of that we'll be enjoying the forest and in the nature and things up there, and I'm still going to carry on doing a little bit of my self-employed ecology work and bat work and things. Oh, it's okay, you're saying hello to everybody. And things like that. But yeah, we're going to be having a bit of a Scottish adventure, aren't we, darling?
Excellent. So you're planning to kind of take a chainsaw to the Scottish woodlands, or are you just going to see what happens when you're up there?
Yeah, just see what happens. It's a full-on adventure. Because we don't. I say we don't know where we're going to. Obviously, my partner knows where we're moving to because he's been up there to view it. But yeah, we don't know where we're going to be moving to. So it's a proper adventure when we get there, isn't it, Ren?
Well, it's a bit scary as well, eh?
It is, yeah. But more exciting. I'm very excited for this next chapter.
Oh well, I'm sure all our listeners and wish you all the best when you head up there. You said that your chap's already headed up, so you kind of got a week of peace, I guess, before you head up there, and life changes. Is that you kind of done with Essex and England for the future? Is this your forever home? Are you kind of flicking the sticks as you head up the M6?
I'll never say never, and I'll never be done with Essex, because obviously our family's down here, so we'll be coming back to visit and things. And yeah, I've my heart's in this place as well, so I'll definitely be back all the time, and I'm still very much involved with Essex Wildlife Trust and things like that, so I'll definitely be down here, and obviously family, importantly, to come visit them as well, not just come see all the woodlands. But yeah, who knows? Never know. Ren might become a true Scot.
Yeah, she'll be able to. Is it naturalised? Is it after you've been somewhere for 5 years? Yeah, so yeah, she will be.
Yeah, a naturalised species, a wild wren.
A wild wren.
Lesser spotted wren in the Highlands.
So it's good that you kind of, staying involved, and you're not just going to announce that this is the last ever podcast you're doing, and then the listeners have got to listen to me for the next 50 odd episodes or whatever. It's good that you're still continuing. Good.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, we're the dynamic duo, Mike. We'll be going. Yeah, and we've got many more seasons to come. And one of the other positive things from this is that I'll have a bit more time to be able to dedicate to the podcast and the Forest Plastics Working Group and all the work that we're doing around that. So yeah, exciting things to come.
Brilliant. I think it's fair to say that that our production of podcasts in the last 12 months has waned a little bit, hasn't it? Because life gets in the way, and you've been incredibly busy, and then you've just decided, well, I'll just move around the corner about 800 miles to Scotland. So, but yeah,
As you
it's
do.
good. Yeah, as you do. Yeah. Well, I guess if you're gonna move, you might as well move. Hey, why mess around with just going around the corner?
Exactly.
So yeah, it'd be good to when you're settled, we'll find out what Scotland's like through the airwaves.
I will, yeah,
Um,
update you all and give you all the down low. Yeah, and obviously do a whole load of different forestry up there, which I'm excited to explore and see.
what would you say is the main? Is there a real difference between English forestry? I hate that term. It's kind of a catch-all, isn't it? And Scottish forestry. Is Scottish forestry just a lot more? Well, it's harder for me to say, but is it just a lot more kind of commercially focused? There's a lot more remnant forest.
Yeah, I think absolutely, yeah, definitely a lot more commercial up there. Down here, it's just more sort of amenity planting and but I mean, people do try, but we just don't really have the land space down here for to do large enough, forestry projects. So yeah, it'd be really cool to be able to walk through a forest up there and keep walking and walking and walking, and then probably get lost, and then I'll end up living in the middle of it. That
Yeah.
that would be the end of the world.
No, no, there's some really good, if people are interested, we are going to be relying on you now, Katie, to, every episode to give us at least a 2 hour presentation on what's happening up there and what forestry's like. But there are some like amazing organisations doing some wonderful things up there. I'm thinking obviously the Scottish National Trust, which I've probably just destroyed that name, and what they're doing at Mar Lodge, John Muir Trust as well, and the things they're doing. And is it Scotland BP or something like that? Again, I'll put these in the show notes. I'm just doing a really big campaign on kind of getting more aspen into the landscape up there as well. So there's loads of exciting stuff, happening, as well as you kind of changing your entire life and heading north.
I know yeah, it's going to be really cool to check out all them places as well. I'm really excited to go see some of the Scottish Wildlife Trust places as well, because as you know, got a huge love for conservation and ecology. And yeah, to see what bats I can find up there as well. Yeah, no, exciting chapter ahead. And like you say, with like the what we've done with the podcast so far, it's not been massive production, obviously, like a lot of other wonderful podcasts out there. We're just a couple of passionate people with our laptops. Um, and I've had my daughter with me, so people have had a babbling baby in the background, and all these things that wouldn't be deemed professional in quotes here, but at the same time it's real life, isn't it? And sometimes we're not able to always take the time out and have the equipment and things like that. But I think the main important thing for this podcast is the content, which I hope that we deliver well, and the information that we share. And we're trying to make a big difference in our, I say our small part of the small part of the sector, small part of the environmental sort of movement. But like we discussed yesterday, didn't we, Mike? It's such a significant part of the plastic pollution problem, even though it's such a small niche area. And as we grow the podcast, and especially as I'll have a bit more time and things, that we'd like to um branch out a bit more to try and really give it the coverage that it deserves, really, to try and make it not be, we don't want to be talking about this stuff, do we, in the next 10 years?
No, absolutely not. And I think that when we started the podcast, we were wondering, could we sustain the topic of plastic in forestry for beyond, I don't think we had any kind of episode targets, did we, originally? We thought we could get to 10 and see how we go from there. And already we've been discussing, well, it's not just the plastic. It's everything that's encompassing planting woodland, isn't it? With deer control, and we've done a bit on squirrels, and we've had a couple of guests on as well. The greenwashing episode 7 that went out a few weeks ago has been pretty well received. I was a bit nervous about that one, as you know, Katie, because our guest was quite controversial at times. I had some really good feedback when I was out visiting a woodland office in the Lake District. And you're just walking around the wood and they say, hey, do you do that podcast? I was like, yeah, I'm involved. And then you kind of brace yourself thinking, what have I said? Well, that's my kind of outlook on life. It's like, okay, what have I done? Put a wall up straight away. And she was just saying how much she enjoyed that episode and was giving me a bit of stick for not releasing another one pretty quick. So we're hoping that the things we are discussing resonate out there. We think they do. And yeah, we'd like to expand our subject base a bit more, and we're always open to kind of suggestions. If there's a topic within kind of woodlands and the environment that our listeners want us to investigate or talk about, then we'll have a crack, won't we?
Absolutely, yeah. And maybe we're borderline lifestyle podcast now, talking about our lives and moving things, but it is the balance of we're all people who have lives and families and jobs, all trying to do our bit. So hopefully that resonates with listeners as well.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah. So topic of the day, we're going to talk about the Forest Plastics Working Group, and that might not sound massively interesting to people because they're like, oh, you're going to talk about a working group, but the foundations behind it, what it stands for, is really, really cool and really important. And the more people know about it, the more that the group can actually do, and it's fundamental in actually tackling this plastic pollution problem that plastic tree shelters are contributing to.
Yeah, I think that's right, Katie. I think that we've just been talking about two people who are passionate about the woodland sector and what we're trying to do, and not leave a massive legacy of plastic waste in the environment. But and it's cliched, isn't it? We can't do that on our own, and by bringing people together from across the country, including Northern Ireland as well. Obviously, there's a wealth of experience and information there as well, but it means that when you have to go further, and perhaps we can talk about this a little bit later about whether the group is a lobbying group or is it a group that kind of collects research, it has a weight of people behind it, doesn't it? So you can go to government and say, the 35-40 members of the Forest Plastic Working Group or whatever group it is, wants this change to happen. And there's some very significant names on that group as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and me and Mike are very lucky to be the co-chairs of the Forest Plastics Working Group as well. So yeah, we're very much involved with all the wonderful work that the group's doing. And I've been co-chair since last year, 2024. Mike's been with the group a lot longer. And I think how the group started and how it all came together is really cool story, and it's obviously super important that it did happen because it means that we're able to do the work that we're doing. So one wonderful person who was fundamental in the beginning of the group was James Bickley, who Mike is going to have a chat with now.
Hi James, it's good to hear from you. I know that we tried to get you on the podcast a few times. So how's life treating you?
Well, I thought you were avoiding me, and now you're telling me I'm avoiding you.
Both avoiding each other,
no.
Like estranged people across the ether. No, it's good that we finally got you on, and great to speak to you because the subject today is on the Forest Plastic Working Group, and you were, as far as I remember, instrumental in certainly the early founding days of the group. So perhaps before we talk about that, you could give us a bit of an overview of what you do, your career in forestry, and how you ended up involved in the group.
Oh my word! So I've been in forestry over 30 years, and I started off on the chainsaw, and I worked all over Ireland, and then went back to education, got a degree at Aberdeen, and worked in the West Highlands for nearly 10 years, and then I had a short stint in the West Country, in Cornwall, managing forests there, and since then I've been based in Cumbria but working all over the northwest.
So with the Forest Plastic Working Group, we talk about it quite a lot on the podcast, and both myself and Katie are co-chairs of the group, actually taking over from yourself, who was a previous chair. But are you able to give the listeners a bit of an idea of the kind of the origins of the group and why it was set up?
Well, it was pre-COVID, maybe 5 years ago now, and possibly more even. Wow. And well, a few of us were pretty fed up with seeing the volume of plastic that we were in woods and associated with tree planting, and that primarily tree shelters and tree guards, spiral guards and shelters that seem to be neglected and left. Usually they're only required for 5 years, occasionally up to 10, but on difficult soils and more upland sites. But I think you don't even need to be working in forestry to see them, to notice them. And it was a pretty stark reminder of the impacts we can have and how we try to do the good thing with planting trees and establishing woods, but often there's this legacy of plastic that's associated with what we're doing, and that seemed contrary to the good we were trying to achieve.
So the group that you got together, was that just a case of yourself and because you're based up in Cumbria, so was that yourself and somebody from perhaps the Yorkshire Dales National Park or wherever? How did that was it just kind of friends of friends started talking, or colleagues?
Well, we knew each other professionally anyway, and so that's Jeff from the Yorkshire Dales National Park, Nicola Abbott from Till Hill at the time, and I think that was probably it at the very beginning, and then a few more joined. And then we had COVID. Sorry, we had a conference in Leeds that YDMT set up on forest plastics, and that grew the group significantly. And then it took off from there. And I think over COVID we met online a fair amount, and that was the beginning, really.
It's amazing how a few professional friends having a conversation about something that you said that you saw all over Woodlands has now ended up being a group of, I think at the last count there's 32 member organisations on the group, and around about 43 people who kind of feed into that as well. It's you were chair as well at one point. Has it surprised you how, say, well the group's gone, how well it's grown?
Well, it's taken effort, and we want to keep it fresh, and rather than just sort of banging the same old drum, look at opportunities to do things differently and share professional knowledge, and just raise the issue more widely that we are leaving a significant legacy of junk and garbage in our environment, in our woods, that's often ending up more widely scattered across the environment and into our rivers and into our waterways, more broadly.
I know that the issue of plastic and potential alternatives has changed over the what is it now? Is it 6 years since the group started? But the aims of the group has always been the same, hasn't it? It's that kind of advocate and facilitate good practice around the use of plastic in forestry, research and information on packaging and what's out there, and also promote the environmental benefits that result from forestry and woodland management. It must have been really difficult to get, I was saying there's 30 odd members on that group. It must be difficult to bring all them people together to agree on three aims like that.
I don't think so. I think we're all in broad agreement and coming from the same place. We don't want trash left in our woods, and we're all aware of what we've done. And for a sector, and well, the forestry sector, but also it's much broader than that. It's tree planters generally, and they often don't come under the forestry umbrella. But we all are wanting to do the right thing and to be more sustainable. So the core aims, and it really boils down to reducing the amount of plastics we're using in the environment and clearing up the legacy of stuff we've left out there, and that's really simple, and I think most people reasonably think that's a pretty good thing to sign up to.
Yeah, I think that's important, and I think that one thing you did when you were chair of the group was you brought on firstly the devolved nations. We made sure that there was plenty of people feeding into the group from devolved nations. So we've got DARE, obviously in Northern Ireland, and various organisations in Scotland, Natural Resources Wales, as well. So you made sure that, I say you, James, because you led this. You made sure that you brought all these groups together, but also bringing DEFRA on was key as well, because we might be talking about kind of the waste hierarchy and the circular economy, but we now know as a group that that's backed by government as well, or those concepts are backed by government, and I think that's really important.
That's really interesting, Mike. But it goes way beyond government. I mean, if government says, "Oh, do this," well, that's quite an interesting thing. But the reality is that this stuff, societally, people want to change. People want to reduce their waste and reduce the plastic in the environment. That came across loud and clear when the Woodland Trust surveyed their members. That was one of I think that was their leading concern. But it's not just government that wants to support the move to the waste hierarchy, and how can we reduce our waste, how can we reduce our consumption, how can we reuse things, how can we repair things, how can we recycle more, and that's hierarchy is really, really important. But also the circular economy, how do we keep things in manufactured goods in use for a lot longer, rather than consume and then junk and then waste. But not only that, it's also in the woodland and forestry sector already. So UKWAS and UKFS are already all about reducing waste and not leaving man-made products in the forest after they've finished their useful life.
Which is really important. I know from version 4 of the UKFS to the current version 5, which I'll put in the show notes. The group, I say the group as a whole, but obviously it was individuals in the group that did it, actually, made sure that the recovery of this material was in the updated UKFS, didn't they? And that's really important. And for the government and their advisors to take that on board as well. It may only be a line in a paragraph somewhere, but that actually to be inserted in there just shows, I guess, how far and how important this issue has become over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, waste management has been important in the sector, and we've not been very good at it. And so it's key that there's unambiguous guidance there and the UKFS determines sustainable forestry practice in the UK Forestry Standard. And it's key that in certainly 2 places in that guidance, it advises the removal of waste, and once manufactured products have finished their useful life, that they are taken away from the forest, and that waste ideally recycled but managed appropriately.
And which is really important. It's something that myself and Katie bang on a lot about in this podcast as well. James, you've been involved with the group since 2019, so you've seen kind of 6 years of hard work. Members come and go. Well, the memberships probably stay the same, but the people involved have kind of come and gone. Have you got a particular highlight from the last kind of 6 years? What kind of sticks out to you as something that the group has achieved?
So the conferences were fantastic, getting people who are concerned about this issue together. And I don't know what the numbers were, but certainly 100, 200 people attended both those conferences. That was great to see. The Plot That Plastic app is the citizen science project that runs alongside the Forest Plastics Working Group is fantastic to see how folks are bought into that. But also just the awareness, it was like it was almost a dirty secret in the sector. We're not going to talk about that, but where UKWAS is taking it seriously, and people in the sector are talking about it and taking it seriously now, and that's really interesting, and that's a really big deal. ICF and the representative bodies are broadly supportive of the initiatives of the Forest Plastics Working Group, so that's really, really great that they're recognizing that and they're seeing it as an issue. And I think the days of us as an ostrich burying our head in the sand and thinking, this isn't really a problem, it might go away, that's long gone.
And is there anything
Mike, the recycling hubs, of course, how could I forget, that you set up that's a huge success, and the determination and drive that people have shown to get that underway has been absolutely key in addressing the legacy of plastic garbage we've left in our woods and in our environment, and getting people on board to and making it easier. Getting these things off site is really hard. It's hard work. It's sometimes dangerous work if you're using sharp blades to remove these things, and just giving people an opportunity to bring them somewhere and get that headache dealt with. It's not a headache for them to deal with that. They just have to get it to a central hub, and then it's going away and it's being recycled. So yeah, that's a fantastic success.
I think with something like that, James, you've got to make things as easy as possible, haven't you? If you put any kind of little road block, little road hump in anything, people kind of turn away, don't they? And I'm certainly looking at how we can make the whole process of that recycling process simpler, because you're still relying on groups to remove the material and then the landowner to bring that material to a site. So there's still little efficiencies we can make there. Well, I was listening to the Talking Rubbish podcast quite recently, and the guys who host that set up the soft plastic film recycling that has appeared in all our major supermarkets across the country, and I think they've got 10 local authorities who are actually doing curbside as well. And listening to those guys talk about how long it took to set up and the fact they needed kind of finance behind it and they need to make it easy as possible. It just reminds you of the recycling project that we've put together as well. If you can remove those barriers, you can actually do things quite easily, really. I'm sorry, I kind of tried to dive in with another question when you started talking about recycling hubs, but I just wondered if there's...
Sorry, I've got another one.
You've got another?
I do. Another success story is the case studies and the guidance documents that the groups produced, and there's an absolute mine of professional knowledge in there. We've gone to Europe to see how European foresters tackle often the same problems with herbivores and get woodlands established there. And the programs in many European countries absolutely dwarf our programs, and it's really easy to look at practice in the UK and think it can't be developed much further, and we do what we do, and it's great professional practice, but actually it's a really good exercise to look at how things are done in other countries. And what was started from some of that work was actually the extent to which we use this class of products in the UK, particularly in England. I think Scotland's far more reliant on fencing and deer management. Wales don't have, in Wales, tree shelter is the option, the last resort. So that was a bit of an eye opener. In Ireland, in Republic of Ireland, they're not used much at all, slightly different in Northern Ireland. But understanding how they're using them in Europe, but also understanding woodland practice, tree establishment practice, and the other things we can do, because I think pretty much every time you reach to put a shelter on, it's almost become a default. It's the easy option. It's become habit. Whereas there's almost always an alternative, another way to do things than put a shelter on it.
Well, I guess, like I said just before you started talking there, that people choose easy routes, don't they? And then throwing a shelter on is the easy route. And I think that one thing the group has done through that guidance is it's actually asking professionals in the sector to just have a think, really, before. Do you need to use that shelter? Could you use a different type of tree species? Could you use fencing and exclosures, or things like that? So yeah, and I know it's something the group is really keen on. We're still going to be putting out as much kind of guidance as possible. We've done a riparian guidance quite recently as well. And then at some point, James, I know we we had fun writing that original guidance, but we'll probably have to return and probably do a version 2 of that as well, which I can tell by your voice that you're dead excited to do. But one question I wanted to ask was, is there anything over the last kind of 6 years that you wish the group could have done better, or is there a change that you would have liked to have seen in the sector?
Well, the first question, Mike, no, not really. The partners on the group are all, it's alongside the day job, and they're all really dedicated to reducing our use of plastics and a more sustainable way of doing things. And that's really exciting to see. Yeah, I can't really say much more than that, how great that is. And what was your second question? Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, it was. I guess it was. Is there anything you would like to see now? Is there, I guess it's that really cliche question, James, of if you could wave a magic wand over the next couple of years, with the use of this material in the sector, or perhaps the group becomes more lobbying a lobbying an organisation. Is the kind of have you got a bit of a wish list at all?
Well, I think Potter said back in 1990 in Treeshelters, a handbook that came out, Forestry Commission handbook that came out shortly after Treeshelters were adopted widely, that I can't quote it, I don't have it under my nose, but it was along the lines of whatever type of shelter you use, if you don't address the litter problem or the waste problem afterwards, then you'll have problems with public perception of what we do with tree planting and woodland planting, woodland establishment. And I think that's as true now as it was then. And I think I wish that we could move faster to reduce our use of this class of product and do more to address the legacy that's out there. I think it'd be great to go further and do more to reduce the sort of default, let's put a tree shelter on it, we need a guard. In that guidance, it was advised way back 30 odd years ago more that this type of product wasn't suited to sites over a hectare. However, we still see big sites planted up with a lot of plastics on them. I worry that we may sort of jump from fossil-based plastics, conventional plastics, to bio-based unconventional plastics, or so-called biodegradables. We don't really know how long these products will break down, and whatever the ingredients of them, they still need to be recovered. And I worry that folks might think, oh, well, that's fine to use these, we can just leave them out there, and that will encourage the laziness that we see, or the cost efficiency, the cost savings, I guess people think they might be making by leaving them. But it won't do anything to address the waste problem and the litter problem, the perception problem of this stuff flying around the countryside, or help us to transition to a circular economy, because ultimately these products are single use.
I think that's a really interesting point, James. And perhaps when the group was set up in 2019, I'm looking at the three aims in front of me now, and it was kind of, we're looking for a balanced, sustainable solution. And I think the thought was that there could be almost a bit of a silver bullet, that there could be a biodegradable, and I'm doing my inverted comma fingers, option that could be used, and plastic wouldn't be used anymore. But I think what you're saying there, bringing, having DEFRA involved in the group is massive, because it really focused the group's attention on the circular economy and the waste hierarchy. Manufacturing something to waste, I mean, that is a single-use product, isn't it? You're manufacturing something to waste. So biodegradable, whatever degradable you want to talk about, it is still manufacturing it to waste. And the fact that in the UK forestry standard, it says that all this type of material, when it is redundant, has to be removed from your woods. There's no kind of compromise there, is there really, James? It's kind of, it's as blatant as possible that what the government is saying there is that, and advisors are saying that if you use any type of material, it has to be removed when it's redundant. And we know in the sector what that means. That means the tree's out the tube, it can survive with the tube taken off. It's not going to, well, it probably is going to get a little bit deroed, but it's not going to get eaten and things like that. There's kind of no compromise there, is there, anymore?
Well, it's unambiguous guidance, and I think if you're putting materials out there, manufactured materials out there, then it's a responsibility to manage that waste. And they are ultimately, they're plastics.
Yeah.
Perhaps with the distinction of some of the card products, which still will have a plastic waterproof coating on them. All the others are unconventional plastics. So there's a lot of interesting things around the definitions and terminology of this class of material product.
And it's something the group has worked on as well, isn't it? To actually, put guidance together about if you are deciding that you're going to use one of these products, these are the sort of things that you need to look out for as well. But as you say, UKFS is unambiguous. You still have to bring this material in. So,
but that's actually, guidance telling you to do one thing is really interesting. But let's look at the waste hierarchy in the circular economy. These are, fundamentally important principles around sustainability, and why should we be exempt from that? Ultimately, it often boils down to money.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's going to make it up? Oh, we need a silver bullet, we need a product. And there's a sort of a male thing, sort of surveying a big field of trees. If you don't have a shelter on it, you can't really see them. It's not a great deal to look at. But if you put shelters on it, well, you can feel great because, look at that, it stands out and it's fantastic. And I think that perception we need to move away from.
Yeah, I think, as I say, I remember when I kind of started my woodland journey, so to speak, that I was told that a shelter on a tree was almost like a sign of progress because a broadleaf tree had been planted. People could actually physically see, the public could see that something good was being done. But I guess, not so long ago, there was kids up chimneys, single-use plastics, straws appearing on beaches and coming out of turtles' heads and things like that. So times do move on, and I think you've kind of summed up exactly, how the sector should be moving. But it is moving, isn't it, James? It's not all negative. We are starting to see some movement within the sector.
Yeah, we've seen greater take-up of some of the other ideas, some of the alternatives, and natural regeneration. A lot of the majority of these trees are planted for biodiversity and carbon sequestration. So it seems perverse that we're doing it for these great reasons, but on the other hand, there's a legacy of plastic that we're creating or perpetuating associated with it. And so, what's that about? So natural regen is often far more resilient to browsing and becoming established if you've got those seed trees around, and those pioneer species are often pretty tough when you can get them growing on site. And I think early on you did a case study or showed me a site where they scarified it, and it was halfway up a hill in the Dales, and the birch regeneration was incredible. And we've done a survey looking at some older sites planted between 2007 and 2014, and just going back and looking at those sites, it makes you kind of wonder, why did they do it that way, or could they have done it another way? And one of them really stuck out, and you had to work. I mean, almost all the shelters have been left on the site, but you had to work to see them because they put them behind a deer fence. And the natural regen was incredible. They were getting sort of 12,000 stems a hectare of natural regen, and you said, why do they go to the expense of planting that and putting protection on it when it was in the middle of a wood and it was going to get some great regeneration?
That was such a great chat that you had with James, and just so good to know the background behind the group and what the group aims to do and all the work that it's been doing. And one quote really that the group has, which I think is fundamentally just summing up what it is that we're trying to do, and I think everybody, I can't imagine a person that wouldn't want this to be the case, and the quote is that the increase in tree planting should not result in the increase in plastics in the environment. Planting trees, wonderful thing to do for whatever reason you're doing it, timber, biodiversity, for fun, it's great, but it shouldn't then lead on to causing plastic pollution. That just seems daft, doesn't it? So I think that sums it up really nicely, and you had such a good chat with James, and I hope people enjoyed listening to that.
It's insane, Katie. It's like you say, is it 30,000 hectares per year is something that we're trying to, I think UK government set out in its 25-year environmental plan was, 30,000. I think I did a quick bit of maths, and that's potentially 48 million shelters maximum a year. It's absolutely outrageous that we're trying to do this, you've got young wren there, and the kind of trees for the future. And it's something I've learned quite quickly now is that I'm planting for the next generation. So I'm not going to get to see the kind of efforts of the fruits of my labour, really. And to think that my kids and wren are going to have to scoop up a load of plastic is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm really proud to be part of the group, and it's always a great time when I get to chat to James, because as the listeners will now know, we do have a tendency to go on a bit.
Yeah, we do, but it's all because it's all such interesting stuff. And absolutely agree with you there. As being a parent myself now, I find it so sad that these children are living in a world where finding plastic on the beaches and having plastic in your food is like a normal thing, and it's not. It's only been literally the case within the last not even 100 years. So yeah, out of all of human history, you think how long we've been around. That's mad. And I was just saying to you off air, wasn't I, about how I find it really sad. I was feeding wren some fish the other day, and I was thinking there's probably microplastics in this fish, and it just made me really sad to think that's the world we live in. But that's negative. We need to be positive and think about what we can change. And yeah, we can definitely make a difference. Like they say, even like a small difference, picking up that one bit of rubbish can have a cascading effect. So I think that's the same for what we're trying to do. Removing that one tree guard, will make a difference. You know what time it is, right?
Go on.
It's quiz time. Yeah, quiz time.
Is that our new? Is that our new official ditty? Our jingle?
No, do you know what? I think we'll use this season as getting to know what this podcast is, getting to know our vibe, our sort of place in the podcast sphere, and then I will try out some jingles, and then our next season it will come together so beautifully, and people will know all the tunes, they'll be singing along, and it will it will all come together. So I don't know, I'm trying that one out, but there might be a new jingle next time.
Well, there's not a chance that I'm not going to pull that little singing part out of this recording and put a beat behind it and have a play around with it. So you might have set something up for the future there.
Some instrumental, I'm down for that. Sounds good. Right, let's see. I think scores are.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the scores.
We do need to talk about the scores. It's nice to be a winner, and that's what I am, I'm afraid. 3-1. Oh, you have an opportunity to change that today.
Okay,
with more
good.
Questions. I've got plastic themed questions because very apt for what we're doing today. 3 questions, multiple choice.
Okay.
If you choose the right one, you win £1 million. No, I wish. You just get glory. That's all you get. So, you ready for question 1?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, so question number 1. What is the estimated amount of tree shelters used a year in England? We'll go with like England and Wales. This doesn't include Scotland. Forgot they're not the multiple choice. Okay, so we've got 14 to 24 million, 700 to 900,000, or 5 to 10 million.
It's A. Only I know that only because I said it earlier in the recording, which is quite handy. But yeah, definitely. Well, it's quite a big figure, isn't it? Quite a big range of a figure. But yeah, 14 to 24 million.
Yes, you got it right. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, that one is correct. Number 2, how many metric tons of plastic in the last 60 plus years have humans created? So we've got 8,300 million. I think I've read that right. Metric tons. 95 million metric tons, or 10 million metric tons.
I'm going to go for 95 because, the other two just seem far too low.
What? Did I read the first one wrong?
Did you say 830 million? Is that how you said it? Or was it 8? See, I've written down what you said. This is going really good, isn't it?
Oh, so yeah, right. It's 8.
I want to choose the biggest one, please.
8300 million. What's that? That's
Okay.
83, 8,300. No.
That's billion, isn't it? Right, I'm choosing that one, Katie.
That
Yeah.
is right. That is correct. You got.
Yeah, thank you.
What is that? What number is that? I'm having serious baby brain. I don't know.
I don't know. Do you remember during COVID, was it Priti Patel that had to read? Was it Priti Patel that had to read how many COVID tests have been done? And she did exactly what you just done then. And it was like 83,484,323. So.
Oh, well, anyway, if anyone listening can tell me what that number is, I'd be really grateful. Anyway, yes, you are correct. It is the one that I couldn't read. Well done. Question number 3. How many metric tons of plastic are estimated to have entered the aquatic environment in 2016? We've got between 19 and 23 million metric tons. Between 10 and 15 million metric tons, and between 50 and 70 million metric tons.
Could you ask the question again, please? Just the question itself.
How many tons or metric tons of plastic are estimated to have entered the aquatic environment in 2016?
Oh my God.
I'll do a countdown.
They're proper musical today, aren't you?
I know.
I'm going to go for B. I mean, I've won anyway because I'm 2-0 up, so.
Oh, yes, true. That's true. That is between 19 and 23 million. To be fair, all of them figures are disgusting. But that is in 1 year.
Wow.
Between 19 and 23 million metric tons of plastic entered the water. So no wonder I'm worried about the fish that Ren eats having microplastics in them, because every living thing probably does by now. And that's scary. And fun fact about that one, that is more than the combined weight of every single blue whale on Earth.
Oh, scary.
Yeah.
Scary. And you see the work that, is it Gary Glib? I've probably butchered his name. Again, I'll put it in the show notes. He's cleaning up rivers and the sea in Bali, and you just see he's got a brilliant Instagram account. I will put it in the show notes. And just the amount of plastic he's taken out of the sea and out of the rivers is phenomenal. And then he turns up a week later and it's all filled back up again. And like, Bali is supposed to be one of our most pristine kind of coastal areas in the world, isn't it? It is scary. And you know what, Katie, as we said to James before, he said it's quite easily solvable, isn't it?
Oh,
really,
all comes down to money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, we have lots of content ideas going forward, don't you, for other episodes as well, because there's just so much to this issue within forestry and environment. It's mad, isn't it, that even within the forestry and the environmental sector we have this problem of stuff that we're popping out there, let alone the rest of the world, that, you know, where it's all coming from. You know, the day-to-day plastics that we use, plastics used in the medical industry, plastic everywhere. But yeah, we have to be practical about it. Again, not to shame it, because, you know, the fact that we have it in the medical industry is wonderful, because it means that things are sanitary and that we're saving lives and things. So it's about balance. But yes, anyway, I'm waffling on because it's just so complex. But I think it's time for my magic hat. I need to come up with a song for that one as well.
Yeah, that one wasn't too bad. If I get some pumping trance kind of beats behind that,
magic
it might
hat,
work.
Magic hat, magic hat. Oh, let Ren singing as well. Magic hat. I actually have to use Ren's hat. And I'll post a picture on socials. Fun fact, all my hats are in Scotland. So we are using a 6 to 12-month-old balaclava. And I will pick out next episode's topic. Okay, here we go. Rummage. Right. Next episode is going to be... it's going to be called Plastic Patter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, we've got some interesting, just some updates, some news topics sort of within the sector, really, that would be really interesting to chat about. So we've got things like trico, if anyone's heard about it, deer repellent, there's some interesting stuff going on with that. The plastics treaty, interesting things happening with that. There was COP, wasn't there, 26? Very interesting things happening with that. So yeah, lots of, basically a bit of a news bitty.
Oh, that sounds good. And perhaps if any of the listeners want to, they could drop us a line in the usual places. And, if you've got any questions as well, we're always happy to answer questions. And it'd be great to hear from, I'm going to call them Woodies again. It'd be great to hear from our Woodies, Katie. And yeah, so if anybody's got any questions, if anybody's got any questions they want to send to us, then we'd be more than happy to add that into plastic patter. You did say patter though, I did notice that. So
that's
I don't know what I'm going to do with a jingle for that one.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Ren? So I got patter. I won't even attempt to do the Scottish version of that. Patter.
Well, once again, we thank everybody for listening. It has been a packed show. It always happens, Katie, doesn't it? We've taken a break because life is busy. Then we come back and the show ends up being 3.5 days long, and there's always lots of different things to talk about. So, if you've got this far, we do appreciate it, and we will have another episode coming quite soon called Plastic Patter, as Katie said there. But yeah, we do appreciate everyone who gets in touch and listens to us. I normally do some sort of little spiel about kind of the parish notices and the fact that the whole nation needs to stop and listen to these, otherwise you wouldn't know if you saw it, say it, or sorted or anything like that. But it is still key for us if you can spread the message about the podcast, let your family, friends and people know about it. It really does help us get the podcast shoved up the algorithm and things like that. Please use Plot That Plastic. If you go to the Forestry Plastic Working Group, you can see how you can use that app, which helps us build a picture of tree shelters across the country and where they are, and we are able to target hubs and groups to go and pick them up. We've obviously got to thank James, haven't we, Katie, because I've taken so long to try and get James onto this podcast. Despite how well he spoke there, James is actually quite shy, isn't he? So for him to come on the podcast and do that again, we do appreciate that, Katie, don't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, huge thank you, James. Huge thank you to our Woodies for listening.
Yes,
thank you so much for listening. Oh, I know it makes me laugh. But I don't think we could call the listeners anything else now.
No, I have arms aloft that I've actually made that one stick. So that is fantastic. And I know the guys on the Talking Rubbish podcast, they were looking to try and get a kind of terminology for their listeners. I think they came up with binfluencers, which I actually quite liked, really. I thought that was pretty good.
That. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but I think bin dippers was mentioned as well, which has a really different connotation from kind of the area where I live. So, but we won't go into that. But yeah, we appreciate our Woodies, and we appreciate James and everybody who listens to us. And Katie, again, just thank you for you've got a massively busy life at the moment, so thank you for carving out some time to record the podcast. And Ren is always welcome on SustainabiliTREE.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and same to you. You've got an intensely busy life as well. So thank you for joining me. I absolutely love our chats. And you love them too, don't you, Ren? And you are the official third member. Yeah, third member of the podcast. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.
We will. Bye.